pleasure to follow the Right Honourable Member for Stone. He, amongst all of us, has spent more time scrutinising EU legislation and EU directives. And the EU Scrutiny Committee, which I've been very pleased to be a member of for some years now, very often has felt very alone. We've been up there in the committee room going through documents after documents after documents, realising that actually very, very little of what we could do to change. And I think that the public looking in today may well be asking, some of them, if only this interest and intense scrutiny and worry about Henry VIII clauses and worry about statutory instruments, if only a quarter of that time had been spent by Parliament in examining some of those thousands of EU directives and regulations that have been simply imposed on us as a country, and we've had very, very little say. As the Honourable Member has just said, very much of what was happening in the European Union was behind closed doors, and we were one of 28 countries. We were always being outvoted, and many, many of those times then we had to take the decisions and take it on board without being able to change. Now, I do know that there is genuine concern amongst many of my colleagues and some on the other side of the House as well about some of these, some of the ways that we might be scrutinising and some of the use of some of the Henry VIII clauses and statutory instruments. I agreed very much with the Right Honourable Member for Chinkrin Woodford that there are mechanisms that we could actually bring people together on this. And I think one of the problems has been is that there is genuinely, amongst those of us who voted to leave and were pleased at the result, do feel that while there are a lot of people who say, oh yes, we accept the result of the referendum, but actually behind the scenes they are doing every little bit of work they can do to try and not necessarily prevent us leaving, but to make it as difficult as possible, to make it as tedious as possible, to get the public to be sort of saying, oh dear, I wonder have we done the right thing. That is coming through from the media and from all of those people who were strongly in the Remain camp. And I think that is doing a disservice to our country, because what we need to do when we're negotiating now with the EU is to show that this country is united. This Parliament is united, because we are leaving in March 2019. Whatever happens, whatever people on my side of Parliament say, we will be leaving in March 2019. We want to leave in a way that is going to maximise certainty and confidence in business, maximise the confidence of all those people, many of them who voted Remain but have decided now that they want to get on with it. Let's just do it. Let's speak up for all the positive things that are happening, all the dire warnings of the things that were going to go wrong. We should now be recognising that they were wrong, and we need to be being as positive as possible. You know, I look back at the last Labour government, in which many of the current members of Parliament served. We actually, in our time, doubled the number of statutory instruments to introduce new law. You know, we are being a little bit hypocritical on this side of the fence, on this issue, on this side of Parliament. We are being a little bit hypocritical. And I know there are people on my side who genuinely are so upset that we're going to be leaving the EU. But this is a time when we should be putting the interests of the country first and deciding that we want to work with the government. We want to work with the government, and that means the government needs to want to work with us as well. And that needs a positive attitude from our front bench. And I've been pleased to say over the last few months that there has been positive attitudes. I do worry now that this going against the principle and voting against second reading is, no matter whether there are some people who genuinely feel this is the right thing to do, this will be seen out there in the public by Labour voters, many Labour voters who came back to us having fraternised with UKIP for some time, came back and voted. This will be seen as we are not really serious about leaving the European Union. And I'm very disappointed that we will not be supporting the bill on Monday night. I hope that during the course of this debate, some of my colleagues will actually feel that they should be supporting it, even if they're going to support the reasoned amendment, because this second reading is the principle. And then we can, in our amendments and in our new clauses, we can probe some of the problems that there are, no doubt, undoubtedly, about the way in which the scrutiny process will happen. But you know, Michel Barnier has gone on, and many people have mentioned it today, about the clock ticking. Well, it is ticking, but it's actually ticking for the European Union just as much as it's ticking for us here in the United Kingdom. And it seems now to me that the European Union negotiators, not necessarily individual countries, and I think we will see over the next few months changes within some of those European Union countries who really want to get a good deal with us and know it's in their interest. What we are seeing is that it seems that the only thing that is actually at the top of the European Union negotiators' minds at this moment is money. They know how much they're going to miss our money. And I think that tells us something about what the European Union has been all about. They want to keep our money coming in for as long as possible. And any transition period, I will only accept any kind of transition period if on day one that we are leaving the EU, we are stopping paying any more money. That's not to say that there might be some things that legally, really legally, but I'd like to see the detail. I'd like the European Union to come up with every dot and comma of why they think we should be paying something back. Then we need to be clear that we're not going to pay anything more after we leave the European Union. I give way.
Entirely agree with the Honourable Lady. And does she also agree that probably the EU doesn't want to talk about trade because in practice they're going to want tariff-free, barrier-free trade if they're at all sensible, and they think they can get money out of us for that when they've got to have it for themselves?
I think the Honourable Member is right. Money seems to be the crucial way that they're trying to use in terms of negotiation, and I hope that our negotiators will actually stand up to that and stop having this allowing the media and those people who want to make every little bit of negotiation into some kind of conflict, and it's always that the EU negotiators are doing the right thing and somehow we're not doing the right thing. I want it to be the other way round. I want us to be positive about our negotiations, because in the end we can get a good deal by just proclaiming how strong the United Kingdom is, how well respected we are, how strong our City of London is, and how we know that already, despite the fact that we're leaving in 2019, companies are still coming to invest here. There is a very, very positive message, but it's not getting out. Now, I know lots of people want to speak, so I will end by saying that I think the public today, and I'm not a lawyer, and I know there are a lot of lawyers in here who are loving every minute of this because it's the kind of thing they love. I'm not a lawyer. The vast majority of the public are not lawyers. They will be looking today and they will be judging us, all of us, whatever our party politics, they will be judging us on whether we are doing what is in the long-term best interests of our country. And I do not believe that playing some kind of political game about whether we could vote for this because it might make us look, with some people in our party, that we're looking, as if we're standing up to the government. This is about the future of our country. We, on the Labour side, should be voting for the second reading of this bill on Monday night and then challenging and changing, if we can, during committee stage. Thank you.